I can't recall the exact time. Anyway, it was a cool evening, around 10 o'clock at night. My family had already gone to bed, and I was lying on my side in bed playing on my phone, facing away from the door. Our house has 2 floors, and the sound insulation isn't great, so I could hear my mom's footsteps coming downstairs. Fearing she'd catch me on my phone, I quickly turned it off, hid it under my pillow, and pretended to be asleep. I heard my mom open my bedroom door, peek in, then close it and go check on my grandma, whose room is right across from mine. My mom opened my grandma's door, exchanged a few words, and then closed it before heading back upstairs. Here's where it gets creepy. I distinctly heard my mom go upstairs and close her bedroom door, but then I heard my bedroom door open again. I felt someone walk in and stand beside my bed, staring at the back of my head. I was terrified, breaking out in a cold sweat, frozen in place. I could feel the presence getting closer, eventually lying down next to me. My bed is soft, so when someone lies down, you can feel it sink. I felt the bed sink and a hand reach under my pillow. At first, I thought it might be my mom checking if I was on my phone, but I had clearly heard her go upstairs and close her door. I was convinced I had encountered a ghost. I debated whether to turn around and look, imagining all sorts of terrifying apparitions. I slowly reached under my pillow for my phone, mentally preparing myself, and then in one swift motion, turned on the light and looked back. There was no one there. The room was empty. My skin crawled, and I broke out in a cold sweat. I left the light on for the rest of the night, too scared to sleep, just playing on my phone. I didn't tell my parents immediately, but later mentioned it while shopping with my mom. She comforted me, but also went out and bought some safety pins to put under my pillow for protection. Here's a story from one of my classmates. While she was in college, she rented an apartment in an old building on the 4th floor. From the first night, she noticed a constant thumping noise coming from the apartment above her, which was very loud and disturbing. Every night, it sounded like someone was stomping around, but it was especially disruptive around bedtime. Concerned about her sleep and how it was affecting her ability to focus during the day, she approached her landlord, asking if they could talk to the tenants above about the noise. The landlord promised to look into it, but days passed without any resolution. Frustrated and sleep-deprived, she decided to handle the situation herself and went upstairs to talk to the neighbors. She knocked on the door for a long time, but no one answered. Just as she was about to leave, a neighbor from across the hall opened their door and informed her that the apartment above had been empty for quite a while. The previous tenants, a family of 3, had moved out months ago due to their child's school relocation. This revelation baffled her. If no one was living there, where was the noise coming from? That night, the thumping continued, and she decided to tell her mother about the strange occurrences. Her mother, concerned, contacted a witch. The witch suggested placing a mirror facing her bed and setting up a camera to record the reflection. Desperate for a solution, she followed the instructions exactly, hoping to capture some explanation for the disturbances. The next morning, she reviewed the footage and was horrified by what she saw. In the video, a woman was hanging upside down from the ceiling, her face inches from my classmates, staring directly at her. The thumping noise she had been hearing was the woman's head hitting the ceiling as she moved around. Terrified, she immediately moved out of the apartment. Not long after, she fell seriously ill, which she attributed to the stress and fear from her experience. Later, she learned from the landlord that many years ago, a woman had lived in the upstairs apartment and had tragically died when she fell headfirst while cleaning the windows. When I heard this story, I was completely shaken. It's by far the most terrifying thing I've ever heard in my life. Just imagining someone hanging upside down, face to face with her all night, gives me chills. I was born in 2002, and I remember experiencing 2 very frightening events when I was about 12 or 13. The first incident happened on Christmas Eve. I had carefully prepared an apple, wrapped it nicely, and placed it on the cabinet, planning to take it to school the next day as a gift for my teacher. There was a mirror on the cabinet, directly facing the apple. Being a kid, I often struggled to fall asleep at night and liked to look around. That night, for some reason, I kept staring at the apple and the mirror. The lights were already off, and it was around midnight. I was lying in bed, the room completely dark except for the faint light of the moon filtering through the curtains. Suddenly, I saw a withered, shriveled hand extend from the mirror. The hand looked as if it had been charred, with cracked skin and blackened nails. I could vaguely hear the sound of the apple's wrapping paper being rustled. My heart started racing, cold sweat broke out all over me, and I was too terrified to move. Although many years have passed since then, I still can't forget it. Since that incident, I've been afraid to look into mirrors at night, let alone stare at them closely. The second incident also happened when I was 12 or 13. One night, my cousin and I made a bet to look into a mirror at midnight. We had heard that looking into a mirror at midnight could reveal something scary, but we were young and thought it was just an exciting challenge. That night, my cousin and I turned off the lights in the room, leaving only the faint light of the bedside lamp. We stood in front of the mirror, feeling both nervous and excited. When the clock struck midnight, I mustered up the courage to look into the mirror. What I saw was horrifying. My reflection looked terrifying, with blood tears streaming down my face, blackened eye sockets, and a blackened mouth, as if possessed by some demon. I screamed in terror, tears immediately streaming down my face, completely breaking down. My cousin was also scared and quickly turned on the lights to comfort me. These two experiences left me with a deep fear of mirrors at night. Even now that I'm grown up, I still feel uneasy about mirrors in the dark.